Stalking, can you imagine? It's like somebody saying you're a paedophile. For me, that word just sent my head spinning. I turned around and I said, stalking? Who am I stalking? He couldn't answer me. He had a piece of paper in his hand and he was determined that he was going to arrest us. We were chosen to be arrested.
What's the allegation we're talking is that you're outside the governor's house protesting?
The interpretation is besetting and intimidating.
Yes.
So
By protesting outside the governor's house. You haven't followed the governor's wife.
no.
We don't even know what she looks like.
Wouldn't recognise her.
You're a really bad stalker. You don't know who your victim is.
Oh, exactly.
Really bad.
I'm part of the umbrella group. We've been coming over here over 500 days to protest between 8 and 10 to ask the government to have fresh elections and get away from these mandates. I came down here this morning as I planned to do. There was up to 12 police there. I asked them what was going on and they said that I was going to be had to move on because there was a public notice or some form of road traffic notice that I wasn't allowed on the footpath that day.
So what have they issued you?
But they gave me a move on notice, all right, and said that I had to leave the area, the whole of the city, for 24 hours up until 7 a.m. tomorrow morning. And this is the whole thing with these move on notices. They convict you of a crime you haven't committed, they tick a box, that's your conviction, and then they sentence you to actually move you out of your life. They move you out of the city, whether you had business here or not, you're not allowed in the city for 24 hours. I find that to be offensive. I'm here as a lawful protester and then my whole day is completely disrupted because of this piece of paper. And this is associated with a $12,000 fine or 6 months of prison.
How many times have you been issued a move-on order before?
Oh, only 7, I think, yeah.
Only 7. For protesting?
Yeah. I do get a bit mouthy, I suppose, and that sort of thing, but yeah.
Isn't that a fundamental human right? I don't know what you stand for, and I don't think I really care. It doesn't really matter.
It's a fundamental right indeed, but they just make the rules up as they go, you know. It's just an absolute disgrace.
We've been down there since the 18th of December 2021, and Beasley was the governor then, and even though there could be up to 200 people standing there, there was never any trouble with the police. And it was only when Dawson was moved in that we saw the what do you call it, significant police presence outside, and they were there, and the whole tone of the street changed, you know, for the people standing there.
There's been a whole raft of reasons why they've moved us on. On the 2nd of January, an Inspector Tite came along and said we were all stalking. We didn't know who we were stalking for a few months, but I think up to about nearly 2-3 months, every day we came down there that they didn't want us to be there, they said we were stalking. And they charged us. I had move-on notices given to me, and at the end of the move-on notice, they ticked other and put stalking. Right, we've since learnt that the governor's wife said that we were stalking, and that's been challenged by a few times and people have arrested for it, and it's still been challenged in the courts.
I've still got, I've been discontinued on 5 different charges so far, but I've still got to go to court next Monday, as a matter of fact, in conjunction with the stupidity of being a stalker. I suppose I'll be doing that for 7 months and fail, so I've got to take that off of my resume. I'm no bloody good at it, you know.
Basically, I was standing at the bus stop. I was with Max Freedom, independent media, and sat down at the bus stop, and the cops just came over and said, you're under arrest for disturbing the peace. I was sitting at a bus stop by myself. Then they bashed me. They threw me up against the... I can't put my hands behind my back because I've got a sore back. They managed to get both hands behind the back, crush my face against the thing and bash me, basically, just for standing at a bus stop.
Now, I walked from there to about that sign over there, and because I was 7 minutes early on my 24-hour move-on notice, and in between there and getting to the watch house, they've made up this fictitious charge of stalking. I had a night in the lockup because of that sort of thing, and ironically, next day, they, with the help of my barrister, Stephen Gabriel, we got the charges dropped and that sort of thing.
Stalking, can you imagine? It's like somebody saying you're a paedophile. For me, that word just sent my head spinning. I turned around and I said, stalking? Who am I stalking? He couldn't answer me. He had a piece of paper in his hand and he was determined that he was going to arrest us. We were chosen to be arrested. So he said, you are being arrested for not giving your name and address. Now, I wasn't going to give my name and address to a lunatic that called me a stalker. And that's the way I felt about it. But I was arrested. Not by the 2 women police that were there, but by 4 big guys that arrested me.
You haven't followed the governor's wife.
No.
We don't even know what she looks like.
Wouldn't recognise her.
I
You're a
did
really bad stalker. You don't know who your victim is.
Exactly.
really bad.
Worst criminals in WA.
I've got 23 pages of statement of matter of fact of my stalking. In those 23 pages, my name has never been mentioned. It's just full of blatant lies. And
Who were the 23 pages from?
from the complainant, who is Darylyn June Dawson, the governor's wife.
Basically, what I'm understanding is there's 2 tactics they've been using. It's these move-on orders and the stalking allegations.
Yep.
Now, the stalking is about the governor's wife is a complainant that says that you've been stalking her by protesting outside the governor's house, even though you started protesting months before, 7 months before she was even in office.
Correct.
And the last governor's wife never said anything because, like him or don't like him, he was a statesman and she was a proper lady.
And he
But these people,
he recognised
no.
the democratic process. So he said, this is what goes to the territory. And he came out once or twice and he said hello to us, you know, but nothing of real substance was said. But at least he didn't sort of vilify us for doing what we were doing. He accepted a protest as part of the democratic process.
If you think these untold stories from WA is important, make sure to share them far and wide and share all the others at rebelnews.com.au, and please consider helping to chip in to cover the costs. rebelnews.com.au. We cannot do this without your support.